Hello, welcome to another edition of Trial by Magus. Today I'm going to be reviewing the last of the bombers in the 3-bomber pack. This is the Miyasischev RB-17. It is a premium Tier 8 medium bomber with jet power from the Soviet Union. Now historically, this aircraft was designed by the Miyasischev Design Bureau, and the point of the design was to quickly put into production a jet-powered high-altitude bomber for the Soviet Air Force. Now, because Soviet jet engines at this point in time, this bomber was designed 1945, 1946. At that point in time, Soviet jet engines were still pretty much crap. So they decided to take a bunch of Junkers Jumo 004 turbojet engines that they had captured from East Germany when the fall of the Third Reich occurred in April of '45. They crated them up and shipped them back to Mother Russia as war prizes, and they had so many of them that they decided to use these on several aircraft. You're going to see a lot of high-tier Soviet aircraft, jet fighters and such, that use Jumo 004 engines. That's because they had a lot of them, because these engines were not, well, they were powerful, but they weren't reliable for longevity. So the Germans were stockpiling them, and when 262 engines would burn out, they would just strip the engine off, put a new one on, and when the fuel was available, put that plane back in the air. So these really were disposable jet engines. The RB-17 here, though, never flew, was never built, because the Miyasischev Design Bureau was shut down in either 1946 or 1947. So it takes World of Warplanes to give the RB-17 its chance to fly and fight. Now, combat-wise, the RB-17 strikes me very much as a high-tier, jet-powered version of the British Blenheim Mark IV bomber. Here's why. She has one gun sticking out of the front, just like the Blenny, and she has one gun sticking out of the back, just like the Blenheim. She relies on her high altitude ability and her speed in order to evade opposition fighters, just like the Blenheim. So, that's pretty much where the similarities end, though. The forward gun on the RB-17 is a 23mm VIII cannon. It's mounted on the chin, well, on the cheek here, just behind the glass nose. And that might entice you to engage in gun battles with her up at high altitude, but I would say don't. Ignore the fact that you have that gun. Even though the pilot up here has a gun sight, you have no way to aim this gun accurately in-game. You can zoom in a little bit, but you're still dealing with a third-person perspective behind your bomber. That gun is impossible to aim properly. And if you shoot it at an enemy RB-17, well, guess what? His 23mm tail cannon has longer range than your nose gun, higher DPS than your nose gun, and unlike your nose gun, this tail gun never misses. So if you are at full health and get behind another full health RB-17 and you aim to take him down with your nose gun, I got news for you. He's going to shoot you down long before you get him anywhere close to half health. So just disabuse yourself of that notion and run away from all of your problems in this thing. For her bombing ability, the RB-17 does have an issue here, because she doesn't have the health to put up with getting hit by flak or being shot at by enemy fighters, so you really want to fly her at high altitudes. But if you fly her at high altitudes, her bombs become an issue, because, let's take a look at them here. You carry 18 of them, and you drop 6 every time you drop bombs. So you're able to do 3 bomb drops before you have to reload. Now the problem there is, these bombs, which are rated at Tier 4, I believe that's a mistake. That's the same tier that the LBSH and BSH-2 use, and those are Tier 4 aircraft. But their damage is higher than the Tier 4 bombs. They do 2,200 damage each, blast radius of 60 meters, and that's before you take the pilot's bombing ability into consideration. The problem with these is that when you're flying at 3,500 meters or higher, the amount of wandering and dispersion that those bombs have from that altitude means that you're not going to hit very many targets and wipe them out with one shot. But if you go down to about 3,000 meters, where your bombs will accurately hit and wipe out targets with one hit each, you have to deal with being shot at by Messerschmitt 262s, P-80s, and anything else with a cannon and a pair of jet engines can really ruin your day at 3,000 meters. And on top of that, you're taking flak damage too. So it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't proposition. Rock in a hard place. However, whichever one of those two things annoys you more is what you should avoid, and build the bomber for that. Equipment-wise, I've got reinforced airframe on here for the obvious reasons. Engine tuning because, as a jet bomber, she's going to be relying on her speed to get out of a lot of sticky situations or to get where she's needed quickly. And finally, bomb sight 3. Because those bombs are inaccurate, you need to tighten up that dispersion however you can. Pilot skills. I've got Engine Guru on here because it's necessary, and Demolition Expert because it's really necessary. After these abilities, I would recommend Engine Guru 2, maybe Protection Expert. Not much else comes to mind up here. The firefighting ability might be good because you have a lot of hit points on this thing, lots of opportunities to catch on fire, and you're not going to be able to put out a fire by doing a lot of real tight maneuvering in this thing because it's a bomber. She doesn't maneuver that tightly. Tailgun abilities. Extend the range on that rear gun. That rear gun has a range base of 1 kilometer. That's 1,000 meters. You put on a 15% increase on that, that means your gun's going to be firing out to 1150. If you double that up with rear gun stabilization, it'll fire out to 1,300, almost 1,400 meters. That really makes people hate you in this thing. The other ability I took is quick reflexes, so that gun starts firing quickly if something gets into my rear firing arc while I'm not paying attention. After it starts firing, I continue flying in a straight line, and I'll take manual control of that gun myself. Other things that would be good: precision gunner or defensive fire. Weakest link is a completely useless ability here. If your tailgun is firing, you should be controlling it yourself, and that disables the weakest link ability. I have a battle here for you now in this thing. It's not that exciting. Like I described earlier, she flies a lot like a Blenheim Mark IV. So you're going to be seeing a lot of bomb sight camera here and a little bit of tailgun work. I hope you enjoy it anyway. Good hunting.
Well, I got the attacker below me, so let's see what damage I could do with the altitude advantage. Yeah, that 1070s turret critted me 4 times in under 45 seconds. So, and they're buffing it, by the way. Oh, the repair bay is messing up again. Ooh, I heard a theory that it can only repair 1 person at a time, and I've noticed that when friendlies are nearby, I don't get fixed until they leave. So that may be it. Yeah, he's basically crippled for whatever he does next. I imagine he took a lot of damage. Yeah, I flipped the mid while you were doing that. Still a close match for us having 4 locations. Making real good use of this airfield. Ooh, let me beat up that C-Fang. You look clear looking at the map. I think he buzzed off. Oh, I traded 1 for 1. I killed the 250 and the C-Fang got me. 17 kills, 1200, still couldn't win. You gotta be kidding me.